Hi guys, my name is Sarah and today we're going to be talking about aquaponics. All right. Okay, so aquaponics is a form of sustainable farming. Aquaponics is the combination of aquaculture, which is seafood farming, and hydroponics, which is growing plants in water instead of in soil. So it's the combination of aquaculture and hydroponics to create aquaponics. Both the plants and the seafood are grown simultaneously in a recirculating system. So the water and nutrients are recirculated from the fish to the plants in one closed system. It is a way to farm both fish and plants by mimicking nature's lakes, ponds, rivers, and saltwater bodies. The plants and fish have a mutually beneficial symbiotic relationship. So the definition of a symbiotic relationship is a close, prolonged relationship between two or more different species that benefits each member. So in an aquaponic system, the fish that are growing benefit because the plants help clean the water, and the plants benefit because the fish help provide nutrients in order for the plants to grow. And here are some pictures of a few aquaponic systems. This is a homemade system. As you can see, the tank in the bottom, it's got a few fish. We've got a grow bed up top with some media, and we have some plants growing. And then we get a little bit bigger in this picture. It's outside. It's got bigger grow beds and a bigger tank for possibly bigger or more diverse group of fish. Then we have an even larger one that they are growing some serious produce at this one. And then underneath here, I just wanted to give you a quick idea of what the plants look like. You can see all their roots growing down into the water, and those roots are what help clean the water in order for the fish to be able to live. So how aquaponics works. So 1, fish are raised in the tank. 2, water from the fish tank is pumped to the plants. 3, bacteria convert nutrients into less harmful forms in the system. 4, plants absorb the nutrient-rich water. 5, filtered water is returned to the fish tank, clean and ready for recirculation. So it leaves us with happy fish, and our plants are happy as well because they are getting the nutrients. Aquaponic systems are considered mini ecosystems. So here's just a little schematic here. We've got our fish in our fish tank, which produced waste. Then we have bacteria that help transform this waste into nutrients for our plants in the grow bed. And then our plants help clean and filter the water, and then that water is returned to the fish tank full of oxygen in order for the fish to be able to breathe in the oxygen in the water through their gills. And we have some very important water quality parameters to an aquaponic system. This includes pH, which is the acidity of the water. Water temperature, which is of course how warm or cold the water is, and then we have dissolved oxygen, which is the amount of oxygen that is dissolved in the water that is available for the plants to breathe in through their gills. So these 3 water quality parameters are very important to monitor in recirculating systems to make sure your aquaponic system is healthy. And in addition to water being circulated through the system, of course, we have nitrogen and nutrients being cycled through the system. So there's a very important cycling that occurs, and that's called the nitrogen cycle. And here's just a little video I'm going to play to kind of give you a better understanding, and we will review after the video is over.
But how does aquaponics actually work? It short, there are three elements in this ecosystem: fish, bacteria, and plants. The fish produce waste. The bacteria transform the waste into nutrition for the plants, and the plants clean up the water for the fish. But how does the fish waste transform into nutrition? Let's zoom in to understand what really happens. Meet Freddy, a happy fish that sometimes just needs to release a bit of waste. This waste is full of ammonia and is transported to the plants. Plants cannot absorb ammonia. However, bacteria can transform it into nitrates, the perfect nutrition for plants. We need two kinds of bacteria to convert ammonia to nitrates. The first bacteria transforms ammonia to nitrites. The second convert these nitrites to nitrates, which can be absorbed by the roots of the plants. That's how fish and bacteria keep the plants happy, so they can grow like you have never seen before.
All right. So just a little bit of a review. So one, fish release ammonia in their waste, and ammonia is just another form of nitrogen, NH3. And then we have one type of bacteria that transforms ammonia to nitrite, which is NO2. And then we have a second type of bacteria that transforms nitrite to nitrate, which is NO3. And now that nitrogen is in a form that can be absorbed by the plants as nitrate and helps the plants grow and be happy. And this process is vital to the health and balance of the aquaponics system. Very important that this goes on to make sure everything is healthy in your recirculating system. So aquaponics systems are sustainable, which means we're not depleting resources and we're supporting long-term ecological balance. You only need to supply fish food, so you don't have to add any herbicides, pesticides, or harsh chemicals. You just got to feed the fish, and the rest kind of takes care of itself if you have a balanced system. We get two products created from this system. We get the fish and we get the plants, and that's called polyculture. You can grow year-round in any climate because you don't use soil, so you can grow inside, you can grow outside, you can move it from inside to outside, so it helps beat the challenges of seasonality in farming. And it also saves land space in addition to water. So those are two really important resources. And the water is reused in a recirculating system. And it's really cool because you only need 1/6 of the water used for traditional farming to grow 8 times more food. So we use a lot less water to grow a lot more food. So it helps save water and it helps save on land space. It encourages local food production and local businesses. It provides continuous organic fertilizer due to that nitrogen cycle. As those nutrients are recycled, they help fertilize the plants continuously. And then the food that is produced often does not have any hormones, antibiotics, or other additives. So if you were to build an aquaponics system yourself, there are a few pieces of equipment you may need. One, you're going to need a fish tank to hold the water and the fish. 2, you're going to need grow beds to hold the plants. And you're also going to need growing medium to hold roots, moisture, and provide surface area for that bacteria, that vital bacteria. In the nitrogen cycle, this grow bed or the growing medium helps provide area for that bacteria to work. You're going to need a water pump and tubing to help connect the system together. You may need to buy a grow light to provide enough light for photosynthesis if you're growing indoors or if you don't have enough natural sunlight. A fish cave or some sort of shelter for your fish so they can rest and reproduce. You'll also need aquarium gravel, once again, to house the bacteria for the ammonium conversion. And then you're going to need water, plants, and fish. So and choosing which plants and fish you want to incorporate into your system will require a little additional research, and there are a lot of great resources online. You just are going to need to factor in, the space you have available, if you're allowed to have pets, things like that, and that'll help you kind of narrow down the right species of plant to grow and the right species of fish for to have as pets in your system. And then here are a few examples of some homemade aquaponics systems. As you can see, they're pretty simple in design, and they're just a really cool project that you can do at home with your family, with your friends, or even in the classroom as a group project. And just remember that not all aquaponic systems are the same. So depending on, like I said, the resources you have available and the space you have available, your aquaponic system may look a little different, but that's okay. Just put on, your engineering hat and build a system that works best for you and how, you live and your home or classroom. All right, and I'm going to quickly talk about commercial aquaculture, because if you create an aquaponic system at your house, the fish you're raising will be pets. You probably won't have enough room to, grow fish to the large enough size or the right species for you to be able to eat at your house. So those will be pets, but we do have an entire industry of aquaculture, which is growing and harvesting of shellfish, crustaceans, fish, and algae sustainably and in a controlled way. Here's an example of a mesocosm aquaculture. So they are growing fish in these rings in the ocean, and they're farming fish, which is a great way to meet the population's requirements for seafood. So it's done on a large scale. So they grow a lot of fish for people to eat, to be sold in the market, in the grocery store. And as you can see here, here's a warehouse full of aquaculture equipment, and it helps reduce the need on the already strained aquatic environments for wild populations of seafood. Here's an example of oysters being grown in the aquaculture industry. And this is really helpful when it comes to wild populations of seafood, because we overfish those wild populations. Because seafood is a vital source of protein for billions of people in the world. The problem arises when we take too much out of the ocean or out of, rivers and lakes, and in order to eat and provide a food source for people, but then we're just depleting the wild populations. So aquaculture kind of helps us, raise fish in order to feed everyone, instead of taking it all out of the ocean. And because there are problems with overfishing, we have fisheries management, which are laws that limit the amount of seafood we can take. So you can only, fish so much from the wild every year, big industries. So that's why it's very important for the government, industry, and researchers to work together to help protect our wild seafood populations, as well as to help grow and grow safely and sustainably aquaculture fish farming. And lastly, I'm just going to leave you with some questions to think about. So do you eat seafood or know someone that does? And do you know where this seafood comes from before it gets to the grocery store? So do you know if your seafood is wild caught or if it was grown from aquaculture? And same goes for fruits and vegetables. So do you eat vegetables or fruits? And do you know where this produce comes from before you buy it at the grocery store? Do you think it was grown in an aquaponics or a hydroponic system, or do you think it was grown in a traditional way? And what do you think? Do you think more fish in an aquaponic system promotes more plant growth, or do you think it would it would hurt plant growth. So if you have more fish, what do you think will happen to the plants? Another question to think about is fish prefer a pH of 7.0, and like I mentioned earlier, pH is the acidity of the water. So fish like it right in the middle at 7.0. What do you think will happen to the fish if pH is lower or higher than 7.0? And lastly, do you think fish can be grown in the middle of a big city? So these are just some questions to kind of get you thinking. If you want to answer any of them in the comments below, that would be really cool. Yeah, so thank you everyone for joining us today to learn about aquaponics. If you decide to create an aquaponics system yourself, let us know. Let us know on our Facebook page, and we would love to highlight your building skills to all of our other Zoom Science Room attendees. So yeah, have a great day, and thanks for joining.